Already here. Hello, Mom and Dad. Hello, Corey. How are you guys tonight? So today we're gonna keep with our history theme because it seems like you guys are enjoying that, and I'm quite enjoying doing them for our Friday night lives. And today we're gonna talk about a little bit before what we talked about last time. We talked about the Beast of Gévaudan last time, which was in the 18th century. And today we're going to go way, way back and we're going to talk about Romans because there is a really cool Roman history in this area. And I really enjoy learning about it and preparing this little video. So I hope you guys will enjoy it too. Hi, Corey. So here is a little refresher on what you might already know about the Roman. Oh, I've just dropped some papers. That's going to be good. About the Roman history of France. So France at the time was known as Gaul because the tribes that lived in France were Gallic tribes. That's why sometimes French people are called Gallic people nowadays. And France was controlled by the Roman Empire from about 50 BCE to 486 AD, or CE as we're now calling the current era, hence CE. Hello, Vicky. Hello. So, going back to Auvergne in Roman times, it was actually a pretty important area. There were several major Roman settlements that are in what is now Auvergne in France. Lyon, which is still a major city in France, was a very important Roman area. There was also a very important city called Vienne. So that's not Vienna. It is closely spelled to Vienna, but it is not Vienna. It is Vienne. It is still a city called Vienne in France. And in Roman times, it was a pretty major hub of activity, a lot of people passing through, a lot of international people. One thing we don't kind of like realize about the Roman world, I think, oh, hi, Nicolette, is that it was a very international world. Obviously, it was much more difficult to travel between parts of the Roman Empire. It took a lot longer. It was a lot more dangerous. But the average Roman person would have met many international people during their lifetime. And indeed, many international people who were living in countries that were not near Rome would have met Romans, obviously. And maybe they didn't really enjoy that. Anyway, so we are first going to talk about someone who came from Vienne, that town that I was just talking about. We're going to talk about our local saint, Saint Julian. Now, Saint Julian is everywhere in this area. We've got the Basilica of Saint Julian, which we're going to come back to in just a minute. We've got many things called Saint Julian. There's a lot of festivals. There's a town called Saint Julian. But Saint Julian was a martyr who was killed in this area. So Saint Julian, before he was the saint, when he was just Julian, came from Vienne and had to leave Vienne because he was being prosecuted by the local Roman governor who was called Crispinius. And he fled Vienne, pursued by the Roman troops, and he came to this area, to an area of what is now the town of Brioude. The story goes that he hid in the home of an elderly woman, and the Romans were pursuing him, and finally he decided, I have to give myself up. I don't want to put this person in danger. And also, like, that's what you're supposed to do if you're going to be a martyr. You're supposed to proclaim your faith and accept your fate for being a Christian. So that's what Saint Julian did. He went out and gave himself up to the Romans. And in a small little niche of what is now the town of Brioude, there's a spring, and the legend goes that the Roman soldiers decapitated him next to the spring and then washed his head in the spring. And now there are a lot of stories about, like, the water from the spring can heal you. Visiting the site can help heal you if you have an ailment. The spring itself is actually like a really cool place to visit, and it's weirdly right behind a Carrefour supermarket now. But the spring itself is in a nice little park, and it's got a little nice little sort of monument built over it, and it's really cool. It's an interesting place to visit. Now, St. Julian, after he was decapitated, obviously did some miracles. He healed some people. He was given credit for for, this person can walk, this person is healed, this person no longer has a disease. And he was buried in what is now the town of Brioude, and the Basilica of St. Julian was built over his tomb, and it became a really important site for people who were coming on pilgrimage. And in the Middle Ages, there became a lot of pilgrims coming, and even before that, in the year, I've got it written here so I don't get it wrong, it was, I didn't write it down because that was a bad plan, but the year 500, I want to say 86, I definitely remember reading 500, something around there. People from this, what is now the city of Clermont-Ferrand, which is a good hour's drive away, so it's a wise away, started coming to the town of Brioude to come to his basilica to pray for protection from the plague. So that became a big part of what St. Julian is known for. And if you are in the area and you want to see some beautiful, beautiful 5th, 6th century paintings, they are on the inside of the basilica now. And you can also go down in the crypt and see where St. Julian is buried. And he is not alone down there. There's someone else very important buried under the basilica we're going to come to in just a moment. But that is the story of St. Julian. He is our local celebrity saint. And he even had so many things named after him, and so many, he became so well known that this area is on the pilgrimage of Saint Jacques de Compostelle, which goes from Spain all the way up through the north of France. And it actually is going just right out there is the pilgrimage of Saint Jacques de Compostelle. It really literally passes by Everdeen. It's a really neat thing. You see these little plaques that say you're on the pilgrimage route. So we end up accidentally walking little bits of the pilgrimage at random times pretty much every day. So back to the Basilica of Saint Julien, which again I highly recommend to visit if you're ever in this area. We're going to go to the other celebrity inhabitant of the crypt, and that is a Roman emperor is buried right underneath the basilica, right around the corner from Everdeen. So this is the emperor. I'm going to attempt to get this right. Emperor Avitus, who was emperor for a very long and a very important and a very substantial amount of time, from July 455 to October 456. He made it just over a year. So part of the reason that he was such a short-lived emperor is because he was in many ways a puppet emperor. Now, when we're talking about emperors of the Roman Empire, you might be thinking that these dates sound like a little bit late. He was an emperor of the Western Roman Empire. So this is after the Roman Empire split into two big chunks, the Eastern Roman Empire, the Western Roman Empire. And there was a lot of upheaval. It was not a peaceful time. So Avitus was declared emperor. Now, notice I say declared, not declare himself. He was declared emperor by the Visigoth king Theodoric II. If you're being declared by a Visigoth king, you can guess that probably you're not that popular with the Romans, especially the Roman Senate, because the Roman Senate immediately were like, no, this is not happening. The Visigoths can't choose our emperor. This guy has to go. So Avitus was over here in France. He was declared emperor in Toulouse. He was parading around France. And then, and what was really terrible news for him, Theodoric II, the Visigoth king, decided to go invade Spain. You might guess what happened to Avitus as soon as Theodoric II was over the first hill on the horizon. He was deposed so quickly, hence the 1 year of power. Amazingly, he wasn't immediately killed, but he was almost immediately informed that the Roman Senate had condemned him to death. What might we choose to do if we were informed that the Roman Senate condemned us to death? Maybe head for the hills, maybe try to get back to Theodoric II, who would theoretically protect you. Avitus did not decide to do these things. He decided to go on a pilgrimage to the Basilica of St. Julian. It's an interesting choice. It's a brave choice, or maybe a dumb choice. while he was on the pilgrimage, he mysteriously died. He may have been strangled, he may have been starved to death, but he didn't make it to the Basilica while he was alive. He only made it after he was dead, and he was, which I think he would have been happy about, buried next to St. Julian, because he wanted, I mean, if you're committed enough to your local saint, because Avitus was born in this area, to try to go visit him after you know there are people trying to kill you, then I think you'd be reasonably happy to be buried next to him. So in our crypt, we've got two very important Romans, St. Julian and Avitus, the unfortunate emperor. Just after these events, because obviously Avitus was killed in 456, 30 years later, the Romans lose control of France, and France starts to be run by local tribes and start to morph into the monarchy that then became medieval France, and then became early modern France, and then became the revolution, what we have today. So this was right at the end of the Roman period, and I think it's kind of an interesting thing to think about as like one of the symptoms of the downfall of the Roman Empire is all this upheaval. Now, why did I choose to talk about Romans today? Obviously, because we have a lot of Roman history here. And because as I was walking around today thinking, what should I do for tonight's live video, I walked past the Roman doorway that is just around, like literally 100 meters from Aberdeen. It's a Roman doorway in a building. I don't think the entire building was built by the Romans, but the doorway was, and it's just incredible that you can walk around the corner and there's something that is nearly 2,000 years old. Anyway, that has been our local Roman review. If you're interested in Romans, let me just recommend to you the podcast Totalis Rankium. It is so hilarious. It's these two guys that review each Roman emperor one by one, and they do sort of surrealistic humor about each one, and it is, I've listened to every episode and I'm obsessed with it. So if you feel like something funny to listen to that's also historical and kind of vaguely educational and has to do with Romans, then I highly recommend that. Anyway, I think that's about all I've got on Romans tonight. If you guys have any questions or you want to say anything, my mom's saying going in the crypts to cool off is a great plan. Let me tell you, this week it has been boiling. Today is the first day that has been remotely cool in any way. Like even now that it's night, it's still warm. And it is, a cool off is much needed. One thing that I do love to do here when it's warm, I'm definitely going to try to fit into this upcoming week, is going to the river. There's like a swimming place. There's like a camping site that has, you can swim around and you can go around, and I'll try to bring you guys there if we do that this week. Anyway. Oh, and yeah, also there's two sections. Yeah, I've just been reminded in the comments, there's two sections of aqueducts near Breed, which is very cool also. Anyway, I think that that's about it for this evening. If you guys have a subject you want me to talk about, if we do more history stuff like this, or just a subject about like what's happening here at Aberdeen or the area or anything like that, let me know. I am getting to the Cathars one. I know that the Cathars were requested. I'm going to get to that one at some point soon. But anyway, I guess I will see you guys on Monday, where we'll have a full-length video as usual. And I hope I'll see you guys all in the live chat. One more quick question. Corey Cat, what's planned for the house coming up? Well, what's planned for the house right now is a massive, massive, massive cleaning. That is the number one priority. In fact, that's what I'm going to work on as soon as we finish up with this video. Because we have guests coming on Sunday. And so, yeah, things need to be clean. And then what's planned over the next 3 weeks, we've got Laurent here. So we're making a priorities list of all the things that Laurent is qualified to do that I can either physically cannot do by myself because of lifting and heaviness and stuff, like moving furniture, or that like I just don't have the know-how to do. So yeah, we're gonna prioritize like Laurent-centric projects for the next 3 weeks. and then try to get as much of that done as possible so that after Laurent has to start up work again in the beginning of September, then I can be prepared to like move along with all those projects myself. Anyway, I will see you guys on Monday. Thanks for joining me, and I hope I will see you in the live chat then.